Welcome back to True Crime with AJ and Jay. I'm your host, Austin, with my co-hosts,
Janessa Ross.
And Jackson.
We're going to get straight into it, and Jackson's going to be reading our first story.
Okay, so the first one, we have a Baptist preacher. He had surgery one day, and then afterwards, every day he'd space out, disassociate, and then scream and object terror, sometimes saying they're coming to kill him. His family had no idea what it was that caused this. Admit he eventually committed suicide. Man who has a religious belief that suicide goes to hell. Someone raised a Southern Baptist. I know for a fact that it's taught that suicides go to hell. Turns out there was some medical malpractice going on. So during his surgery, after 16 minutes, a surgical technician or a nurse noticed that he was crying and that his eyes were moving around rapidly. So he or she told the surgeon. They gave him the paralytic agent of the chemical cocktail meant for numbing agent, nor the chemical to knock him out. They didn't give him those. They only gave him one of the three drugs that they were supposed to give him. And so he was awake and incapable of moving all while the surgeon was cutting his torso up. And the surgeon and the anesthesiologist tried to force him to forget those 16 minutes by giving him too much knockout meds. He had PTSD from this. Not sure if he was diagnosed, but anyone would be able to tell this was traumatizing to him. He eventually committed suicide. And this was by All Good Names Be Gone.
He had to have gone to some random doctor
That's
in
what I
For
was
the
saying.
record,
or something.
I do not believe that suicide makes you go to hell. That's just my belief.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, because they talk about, I don't know. They talk about it in the Bible, but it's like, I don't know. They talk about a lot of stuff in there.
It's a slippery slope.
He had to have gotten. He better have gotten a free surgery or something though, because
That's
that.
insane.
Yeah.
To leave him awake is insane.
And then
Cutting
for
your,
him to have
cutting your
PTSD
torso
for, yeah,
while
then he had
you're
PTSD
awake.
for the
What
rest of
was
his
the
life.
surgery for?
They didn't say.
Did they lose their license?
Probably
I
not
would
if it
hope
was just
so.
some little
Oh,
doctor in the middle of nowhere.
It might have been hush hush.
Yeah, it might have been something like that.
Wow, that's crazy. I'm trying to give him more medicine so he'd forget.
Yeah, that's
That's crazy.
nuts.
I don't know how
That-
you could forget
That
that.
definitely should be illegal, but he probably didn't report anything because he was going nuts. All right, well, let's get right into our second story. So here we have the Fritzl case, which was a case in 2008. A woman named Elizabeth Fritzl informed investigators that she had been held captive for 24 years by her father, Joseph Fritzl. He assaulted and abused his daughter countless times during her imprisonment in the family cellar. Joseph treated his daughter horribly and even impregnated her and kept the 7 children in captivity as well. 7. 3 of which were left in the cellar with the mother, and 3 were taken upstairs with Joseph and his wife after he convinced her and the authorities that they were fondlings. And then 1 sadly passed away and was cremated. And eventually, Elizabeth's eldest daughter fell ill in the cellar, and she had to be taken to the hospital. So Joseph took him to the hospital, and this is where Elizabeth told the doctors what had happened and how her father was keeping her and her children captive. About a week later, Joseph was arrested on multiple counts of assault, false imprisonment, and manslaughter by negligence in 2009. A little update they have is many of the children and Elizabeth still suffer from illnesses or disease. Kirsten is the oldest one who fell ill in the cellar, and she was in an induced coma, and when she was held captive, she tore her hair out in clumps, and she's still traumatized. Stefan could not walk properly because he was 5'8", which forced him to stoop down in the 5'6" cellar that he was held in for years. And they still remain traumatized by dimming of lights, closing the doors, and things like that, sending them into anxiety and panic attacks. The family all lives pretty normal lives now, despite the unfortunate past.
How do you even like recover?
Yeah, like I don't think I would. After that, I don't think I would be able to live a normal life.
No.
Like,
Right, I'm sorry. What's a fondling?
It's like a kid.
yeah, like they just his parents like abandoned him or whatever, so they like picked him up, adopted him, things like that. Like if your parents just like leave you on a doorstep, you're a fondling or a foundling. I think it's what it's really called.
Whatever, yeah, same thing. That's crazy. How does somebody do that? Like put people in.
Yeah,
what
especially
do you get from that?
especially your family. Like that was his own blood daughter, and then impregnated her and had 7 incest children with her. That's
So would you call them your grandkids or your kids?
that shouldn't even have to be a question. Like,
but like I was thinking, because like I was like, okay, doing it to your kid is insane. Don't get me wrong, but like usually grandparents like are more fond towards their grandkids.
Yeah.
But then I was thinking, would he think of them even as his grandkids, or would they just be his kids?
like, well, he probably have to. I don't even know. I can't believe his wife didn't know.
That's what
he convinced his wife.
There's no way
how
that's
does
true.
she? Yeah, how does she not know that they were in the cellar all this time? And like, nah, that's just.
No, you definitely
and
hear
where?
him.
Yeah, like where did their daughter go? The original daughter.
Okay, where'd the original daughter go, and
Like,
then
where
where'd all
did she
these
think-
kids come from?
Yeah, like I don't know. Either she was clueless or she just pretended to
lying
be
and-
clueless.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm going to move on with our next story. Mary Vincent is an artist in the 1970s and generally avoided the public spotlight. She became very known to the public after surviving a violent attack. In 1978, Mary was hitchhiking in California when Larry Singleton posed as friendly and offered her a ride. He then assaulted her and cut off her forearms, leaving her to die in the culvert of Interstate 5. Luckily, Mary managed to hike to safety and later acted as a vital witness against Singleton. And here's a little update. Singleton was arrested and sentenced to 14 years in prison.
Dang.
But he got released after serving 8 years with good behavior.
You should not get good behavior in a situation like that.
Unfortunately, though, he did not change his ways. Shortly after he was released, he murdered Roxanne Hayes, a mother of 3. In 1997, he was found covered in blood in his new home and was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. Again.
People like that just have like problems.
That's nuts. Literally chopped off her forearms and she still managed
So,
to
like,
hike.
did she die?
No,
No?
that the original girl that he cut off her forearms, she survived and was a witness in his case to put him in prison.
What do you
the
think
first
she's,
time.
like, up to now? Think she's still alive?
Probably living a life.
She's
with no
probably trying to
arms.
realize how to like live without arms. Like that is nuts. That's
Yeah, good point, Jackson.
I couldn't imagine that.
That's insane. No, yeah, because what? To hike to safety, or to hike?
With
to-
no
with
arms?
Like,
With
how do
no
you-
arms is nuts. I don't know how you do that.
And you're bleeding out at the same time.
Yeah, like you'd be in excruciating pain and to be dumped in the culvert.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's
All right,
insane.
guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of AJ and J, and we'll see you in the next one.